Hi, welcome to Box. I'm a box rock and celluloid Bob Pratt for short. I'm over Box. So my random review today is Yngwie Malmsteen's Concerto for Electric Guitar and Orchestra in E flat minor. So the E flat minor has always amused me because people who are aware would probably think, oh, it's an E flat minor, but of course Malmsteen tunes to E flat. So basically, he's playing in the E minor position on the guitar neck, which obviously is very comfortable for us guitarists to play in. I remember when this album came out, I'd actually had a sneak preview of it. So 2 years before this came out, I went to I hate the word clinic. It's like Malmsteen Guitar Doctor, but luckily there was one in Newcastle. There's a place called the Black Swan Arts Centre. It had a little gig room. The local music shop and Marshall, I think, put it on. And Malmsteen basically sat probably 10 feet from myself and a lot of other people. It wasn't rammed. This was in the 90s when Malmsteen was very much not in vogue. But the man was absolutely stunning. He was dead sound. Warm and friendly. He played some excerpts from this. He played a couple of pieces, and it was just stunning. I remember the manager of the local music shop, a guy called Steve Gray, saying he'd heard Malmsteen warming up for a Marshall Price amp in one of the little rooms at the Black Swan. And he just said it was like nothing he'd heard. Absolutely phenomenal. So what is this like? It's an orchestral concerto. That means it's got separate pieces that form one, I suppose. And Malmsteen's very much playing the part of the violinist, really. The orchestra's recorded separately, and then Malmsteen has done his solos separately. He said he's kind of adopted them to fit in. I think his playing on this is excellent. It's passionate. It's flamboyant. I think he maybe could have done it with a little less gain. I think Uli John Roths did very well when he did orchestral stuff to kind of adopt his guitar sound and his amount of gain into the context. But you've got to hand it to Yngwie. This was a real passion project. He used a guy called David Rosenthal to do the orchestrations. I think he used to play Rainbow and this Bent Out of Shape era. And he basically Malmsteen composed it. He did the orchestrations. They worked on it together. They took it to the Prague Philharmonic, Czech Philharmonic, and it was recorded there, probably off score, which I imagine was probably done in some kind of early digital form. And then Malmsteen's put his soloing in later. There's a lot of themes on this album that you'll spot, and licks and ideas that Malmsteen's used on other tracks. Obviously it opens with da 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 da, which is Icarus Dream Fanfare. You'll remember Icarus Dream Suite from the Rising Force album. This is lovely. What I love about this is these bursts of lead, and it's dramatic. The way he copies the violin style vibrato with that kind of penetrating top note. You've got a Cavallino Rampante, Fugue, Prelude to April, obviously tributes his wife, Toccata, Andante, Sarabande, Allegro, Adagio, Vivace, Presto Vivace, Finale. If I'm honest, it's hard for me to differentiate the tracks. I can see it all as one, but what I will say is that as the album goes on, there's an intensity. It does build up. Malmsteen's playing gets more intense. The whole orchestral dynamics are more intense. There's great use of voices as well. Lots of it's just, I think it got overlooked. Really, it's just very, very well done. But it came out at a time. If he'd done this in 1988. People would have been like, God, this man's a genius. Obviously 1998's about one of the worst periods you can have for this guitar. I remember listening to this album and a couple of friends, housemates coming in and just pouring scorn on Malmsteen. This was at the height of would probably be at the tail end of Britpop, and I was enjoying my Malmsteen, and they came in and just ragged on him. So it was a Malmsteen pile-on, and this is what it was like then, really. People thought this was kind of finished, this was done. I went straight out and bought this, really based on the idea that it was an orchestral album. I hadn't bought Malmsteen albums for a while before that. Interestingly enough, the cover I have is the original cover, which is Yngwie in front of a ton of church, and the style of the artwork is done in the style of a classical CD. So although it's on Dreamcatcher Records, it looks like it would sit in something with Herbert von Karajan or something like that, and the back of it as well is done in that style. The later reissues have a different cover, but the original one is the one I like. Yeah, if you like Malmsteen, you're going to love this. If you've not checked it out, I think, you know, as guitar fans, people could check out this album and go, well, I'm not going to have many Malmsteen, but I'll have his orchestra on, because it really does stand out to me as a unique piece. Other artists have done stuff with orchestras, guitarists. There's a terrible footage of Dave Mustaine playing with the sort of San Francisco Orchestra, doing something. He's got loads of gain on his Marshall, and that's hubris and foolhardy. I mean, Malmsteen is one of the few people who could pull this off, and Vi did something with an orchestra as well. Uli John Roth working with a smaller string quartet as well. At this time as well, this comes after Metallica, I think, or does it not? I don't know. Actually, tell a lie, this predates the Scorpions working with the Berlin Philharmonic and Metallica doing the S&M album. So Malmsteen gets the drop on people here, but obviously because he's not as popular, he you know, it just doesn't get any kind of traction really. But it is good. And again, as I said, with the Priestly Facing Angle, which is a song-oriented album, this really feels like the final push of Malmsteen. I would say his playing here is right up in his top drawer, although maybe not quite Trilogy or Marching Out or Disturbing the Peace level. You know, it's just a notch below. He's still on it. He's giving 100% effort. This is a passion project. It's really well recorded, produced. The execution is very good, and it feels like he pulls it off, and he's the only person who could do that. So yeah, since this, I mean, like I say, I've got copies of Malmsteen albums. I quite like Attack and Unleash the Fury, as I mentioned before. But I just feel that the production level's gone down. He's playing, he is falling back more on kind of standard things. It's not as sharp as it was. So this, to me, is a kind of cut-off point for me with Malmsteen, in terms of, listening to his stuff. He'll always be one of the greats. He'll always be one of the great innovators, with his unique guitar style. But again, to me, this is the kind of, from this debut with Steeler to this, there's a really good body of work. So if you've not checked out this album, check it out. Remember to share and subscribe, and I'll see you again soon.